Hello everyone, and welcome to a very exciting snapshot, an update for Minecraft to remember. This is 24W11A for 1.20.5. And I've been reading my comments, and I've seen that this has been causing some confusion. Let me refresh your memory. The armadillo and the wolf changes that you've seen in recent snapshots, they are for 1.20.5. The trial chambers, crafter, new copper blocks, the breeze mobs, the tough blocks, this new weapon, the things that you see either side of me right here, this is all for 1.21. And that's where we start today's video, because they've added an absolute ton of stuff for the next major update of Minecraft. And before we go any further, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, so you can catch these videos, you can be informed and know about the latest additions to this wonderful game. So let's start here in what appears to be one of the new trial chamber rooms to talk about the breeze. Not much has changed here other than what it drops. It used to be wind charges, and now it is the breeze rod. And you may notice how similar this breeze rod is to the rod that runs through the new Mace weapon, which we'll get to soon. So the blaze drops the blaze rod, the breeze drops the breeze rod, and you can actually craft these into wind charges. So it's like they still drop wind charges in a way. So the breeze will drop between 1 and 2 of these breeze rods, and if you have the looting enchantment, you can get a few more as well. So on the topic of loot, the loot that you get out of a vault using your trial key has been updated. And now the loot you get will come from 3 separate loot tables. And from my testing, it seems to be a mix of all 3, with the common ones obviously occurring more frequently than rare and unique. So if you draw from the common loot table, you can expect to see a maximum of the amount of each item listed here. In the rare loot table, you'll only get 1 of each of these, and it includes enchanted items and also books with a random enchantment. And yes, you can get mending from the trial chamber. I should point out that these are specific enchantments, and yes, mending is one that you can actually get. And also when it comes to the loot table, some inventory management here has been considered. You're no longer going to get more than 1 unstackable item per vault. You're more often going to get rewards that stack together. And as you saw, you're no longer going to get the horse armor and saddles. And now for the unique loot table, you shall see our new smithing templates, banner patterns, and this thing right here, the heavy core. And once again, notice the similarity to the mace. This new block initially appears to be rather similar to the player head. As you can see, the scale and the size of it seems to be similar, but it can't be placed with this rotation. Nor can it be placed on the side of a block either. And does it interact with redstone? Well, it can be pushed, but it'll break off. And from my testing, I couldn't really find any other properties with this one. Its functionality for now seems to be crafting, but it might get more uses in the future. We'll have to wait and see. Also from the unique loot table, we can get 2 new banner patterns. We saw this in the introduction of the video, but this one right here is known as Guster. The other one is known as Flow. So Guster on the left and Flow on the right. Now Flow has the accompanying armor trim that you can get from these loot tables, and this is the design with redstone applied to iron armor. The one on the left, however, is known as Bolt, and this is its design. Things were a little cramped and gloomy down there, so I decided to pop up here to the surface and we can take a look at the design from all sides. Now these templates require duplication inside of a crafting bench. Let's go and check out the recipe of Flow. You can see it needs the new breeze rod. And Bolt requires just a copper block. Now as you may have spotted in my inventory, there are new pottery sherds down here. We have one that matches the Guster banner as well as the Flow banner, and a third one known as Scrape. And as far as I could tell, these sherds are not available through brushing suspicious sand, but they are found on various decorated pots that generate in the trial chamber. So here is the Guster design, the Flow design, and lastly Scrape. And I got to say, I really like how they're tying in new aspects of the game into existing systems here. It is really cool. Let's now move on to the new combat weapon of this update, the Mace. And you've probably already guessed how to craft it. Yes, a breeze rod and a heavy core. So into a test world we go to check out Minecraft's new weapon. And the reason that we're here is because of this. We can see the health of the mobs that we're about to attack. And we know that this thing does 7 attack damage, but I'll go ahead and swipe one of these just to confirm it. But then we'll also do a little jumpy jump in the process, and notice that it did more damage than before. That is because this weapon relies on the player falling down to deal more damage. So let's jump from up here, and bam, 1-hit kill. And did you notice the other mobs around it jumping? If we fall from a distance above 1.5 blocks, it then has this knockback effect on the other mobs around them, which don't take damage. It's just the one that we struck, and that guy was almost 1-hit kill. I've just found a really decent way to show you this effect in more detail because the armor stand is an entity, so let's drop down, and then you can see how far they spread out. Same thing again, this time we're falling from much higher up. And this time they've actually spread out pretty much the same distance. Now we're going to try it with a much smaller distance. Again, it seems to be about the same amount. Now the height at which you fall from scales with the amount of damage, but we can already 1-hit kill a creeper. So now we summon the Iron Golem and take out an extraordinary amount of health. So with 9 blocks of full distance, we can take out over half of its health. And if we double that distance... Oof, almost 1-hit kill. Now, I believe that the damage is scaling consistency, but there are some variables here. I have noticed that if you land on the ground and strike at the exact same time, it can still apply the damage. And if you do it a little too soon, you of course apply less. So for me, that's made the math a little tricky to figure out here. But of course, subscribe to the channel because I'm hoping to find an answer to this. And if I do, I'll inform you in a future update video. We are yet to do this in survival mode, so let's go ahead and strike this Iron Golem. And notice how I didn't take any full damage. That's because the mace will actually negate full damage if you successfully land a hit. Now when it comes to durability damage, it only takes 1 each time you use it. But it should be pointed out that this doesn't work with enchantments. You can't put Unbreaking, Sharpness, or Looting on here. It can, however, be repaired in the anvil with breeze rods. Now, I've got to say, the mace is feeling fantastic, but possibly a bit overpowered, so I like that it doesn't use enchantments. But here's my suggestion. Perhaps for every block that you fall when using it to strike an opponent, each of those blocks should be applied as 1 point of durability damage. So I'm left with one really cool thing to show you. The mace synergizes really well with the wind charge. If you have one in your offhand, you can jump, bounce, and strike just like that. And check this out, you can actually get high enough up to like 1-hit kill a regular mob like a creeper, which is real nice. So yeah, that was the mace. What do you think of it? Leave a comment down below. Now let's head back to the trial chambers for a few more changes. It says here that we will now see trial spawners more frequently in corridors, and that there are new chambers and variations that add new challenges. And this wasn't quite what I expected to see. We have the slanted structures across here and the pedestal ones in this row. And I believe these might be components that are put together in a way to make up the new room types. Now this to me looks like one of the new types of rooms. It's got a different sort of layout to what we've seen before, but it didn't really resonate with the new structure files that I imported. So it's possible that perhaps I'm missing something here. Now here's another room that looks totally new. And this one really resonates with those structures that we saw a moment ago, mostly because of these copper grate walls. So I think what we saw were the components that get pieced together to make up these new room layouts. So that was all the new 1.21 stuff. Now let's move on to the changes for 1.25. The texture of cracks on wolf armor has been updated. This is what the first level of damage looks like. Basically, it's a lot more noticeable now. This is the second. And finally, the third level of damage. You can actually distinguish them from one another a lot better now. Tamed wolves would also attack an armor stand if the player were to attack it in previous versions of the game, which they'll no longer do. And there's also been some changes with the wolf variants related to spawn eggs and the summon command. So for these different types of wolf, the biomes that you can summon them in using eggs has been expanded. So naturally they'll still spawn in the previous biomes, but if you're in one of these variants, then using a summon or an egg will spawn in that variant type. Next up, we're going to look at the changes to status effect particles. So previously, your status effect colors would get merged into a single particle color. So it's a little awkward to see, but I've currently got those light blue fart bubbles around me. And adding something like haste would then combine the two colors together. And now we will get particle effect swirls that are yellow for haste and light blue for speed. And as I add a bunch more status effects, we get more different particle colors. The frequency at which they appear on the player has also been changed too, just so they're a little less obnoxious on the screen. Now this menu background blur that was added a couple of snapshots back has been updated so the blur is more performant and looks a little easier on the eyes. Because of this, resource pack version has been updated to 29 and there's lots of tweaks and changes that relate to this stuff here. And if you are following the technical stuff with the item predicate changes in recent snapshots, well, there is an absolute ton of them again. It's all here on the website. There's a lot to read if this is relevant to you. It'll be linked in the description box down below. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of this video. If you have enjoyed it, please do leave a like. If you're looking for something else to watch, may I recommend the latest episode of Hermitcraft, where I've introduced something really interesting for all of the other hermits to participate in. You can find that video on my channel, but that's it from me this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon with another. Bye-bye.